Well, hello to everyone who is watching. Welcome back to the Dead Hours. I am the trick and the treat of this Halloween season because, you know, why not? Best of both worlds. And thank you so much for joining today. I have some very special guests that are joining us all the way from Canada, actually. Hello, everyone who is joined. Hello, hello. For our neighbors to the north. And they have 500 subscribers, 504, I think, last I checked, on their YouTube channel. And they have an actual real life TV show. Is my first guest that have an actual TV show. So please give a warm Dead Hours welcome to Jon and Karina from True North Paranormal.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Vivian, how's things?
Good. Welcome to my humble little hovel here. My plague mask and everything. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. We're enjoying our COVID cave here. So
yeah, that's what it is, a COVID cave.
There we go.
I like it. Branded.
Right.
So you guys actually have a television show that is on TV there. Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah. Is it only aired in Canada? Is it on?
Yeah, right now it is. I know Thunderboys Productions Inc., who actually own True North Paranormal. They're shopping us around overseas right now. I don't know what's going on in the South. I'm kind of not caught up in that loop, as it were.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
kind of limited right now.
Go here and film.
Yeah, hey, as long as you can still get to do it, right? And like that's the important thing, is like still get to go hunt ghosts. That's
absolutely.
So that's awesome, but definitely people can subscribe to your channel. I'll go ahead and throw a link up later. There is a link attached to this video. The video will remain on there, so even if people don't catch it live, which some people kind of straggle in as it goes, it'll still be on there to watch and whatever, so they can catch up if they miss us live. So no worries there. So how long have you guys been professionally investigating locations?
Professionally, I think that's kind of a loose term. Is that way to professionally do that?
I don't know. Maybe 5 years professionally and 3 non-professionally.
Yeah, I guess with True North, being a TV show, you're in the business of entertainment, so I guess that would be professional. Yeah. So yeah, True North's been around for 3 years, but a lot longer than that. 3 or 4 years without. So.
8. I'd say 8 in total together.
8 total. Okay. Yeah. It's very cool. How did you guys meet each other?
Well, I was in a Megadeth tribute act called Rattlehead. So my band was touring Canada, US, and Mexico. My job was being Dave Mustaine every night. So, she ended up giving my page a like and said, "Hi, sending you hugs from Kamloops, BC." And it's like, wow, I got to talk to this girl, because that's what I did, right? It's like, you're emulating Dave. So I'd like to go on there and be really personable.
Yeah.
And it took me like 2 weeks to say something to her. I didn't know what to say. It's
boy.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, though. Is it just the two of you, or how many members do you have total on your team?
Well, True North Paranormal, there's two hosts. Karina and I are the co-hosts of the show, and that's kind of the big thing about our show. We're a really small crew, so there's the two of us. There's our producer and owner of Thunderboys Productions, Dean Trumbley, who also has Federal's Trigger Effect TV show.
Yep.
And we have his wife, Denise Rockledge. And,
she's the field producer. So I guess there's 4 of us kind of in total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you the only two that go on the actual the actual investigations? Or are you the only ones that actually investigate?
Well, I do the investigating. I'm an empath medium, so when the lights go out, When you see the investigation segment of the show, it's myself and Dean. So we do a lot of interacting.
But recently, I've discovered that I'm not so fond of the dark. I discovered that when I was thrown into it a couple of times.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. The dark can be kind of a lot when you're empathic. It's a lot. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And when it's dark and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
I totally get you. So how many sites would you say you've investigated in total, as a ballpark number?
As True North or just in general?
I mean, just in general.
Geez, we got to be closing in on
20-ish?
the. Well, I know before I moved out here too, I was doing it. I got to be closing in close to 50.
Yeah. If you don't want to include True North, it's probably maybe 30.
30. Okay. That's what's been your the most active that you recall out of those 30?
Oh, Fort Steele, I think.
Fort Steele was a pretty busy place. Yeah.
Fort Steele was just nuts. I mean, it went everything from, I'm gonna throw stuff to.
Because it's a ghost town, there were so many different actual locations on that site. So.
Oh, for sure. When it's a ghost town, there's you can go okay, well, there's the jail here, and then there's this here, and there's a mine, and it's like the whole town is pretty active when you.
Oh yeah.
Like that. Are those generally the towns that the places you encounter? Are they generally like ghost towns? Like, how do you find? Do people contact you? Do you contact them? Like, how do you find the locations that you go investigate?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah, and initially we had to really start looking at places, and when you're doing a TV show, I mean, as soon as you say, "Hi, I'm the host of True North Paranormal TV show," they're like, "Yeah, we're not interested." Now they're kind of at the point where it's kind of a 50-50 thing, where we'll get people, saying, "Hey, do you guys want to come here and investigate?" And it's gotten really cool.
It's gotten better.
It's a slow process, right? Like it's like a slow, you kind of have to chip away at it sometimes, because it is you'll get just some at the door just in your face of like, "Hey, we want to go." They're like, "No." You're like, "Duly noted." Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Circle back.
That's right. Yeah. It's cool.
Mine is always, "Okay, it's a no for now. I'll come back to you."
That's a good way to be. I mean, persistence, right?
Right. Like, you're gonna say yes to me eventually. You're just gonna get tired of me.
Keep going. You're gonna say yes just to shut me up.
Just be like, "Oh my God, get out of here." Most investigators do have a favorite prior spot that they've been. So what are your guys' favorite spots?
You go ahead first.
My favorite spot. I'm gonna have to say the theater in Fort Steele, because I had a dream about a spirit a week ahead of time, and I was hoping I was going to run into her, and I eventually did run into her at the theater in Fort Steele.
That's really cool. Like, was it the encounter? Was it something you had already envisioned and you were expecting the same encounter? It's like a deja vu thing, or?
Yeah, well, she came into my dream and she was really funny. Like, she had knocked me down where I had landed on the floor, and I started laughing and I couldn't stop laughing. So she was really funny that way. And I kind of put her out of my head for a while, and then all of a sudden I ran into her in the theater, and you'll see it on camera eventually when it comes out, but I couldn't stop laughing, and I knew it was her. So that was
you're like, "Yep, that's you."
I'm gonna have to go with Hell's Gate. Actually, Hell's Gate is probably my favorite place ever.
Yeah, there were some pretty creepy moments there.
Yeah, it's like 500 feet down, and there's one way in, one way out. That's it. It's pretty rad.
Yeah,
that's pretty. Sounds like a claustrophobe's nightmare.
It probably would be. Yeah. You see the cable car that you have to go out on, and it's like, wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is insane. I do see the promo on there, so we'll kind of watch that later, the promo. We can kind of unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
And then, so Karina, I read that since a very early age, you've had questions regarding the paranormal and what lies beyond this physical veil of reality. Was there one seminal event that made you question that?
Not one specific event. I was kind of raised up on creepy horror movies. And then I started to question where do we go after we die? And then I started having other strange things happening to me where, I would somebody would touch me and I would like see something that happened the day before. It was just weird things like that. And then wasn't too far after that I realized I was an empath.
Okay. So it was kind of little pieces started kind of falling into place, kind of.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's like, it's a lot to process when those things start to happen, like when you're like, wait, am I going crazy? Am I crazy? Yeah. It's a lot. So it's like one of those things that I said, you want to tell people and then you're like, I'm gonna sound like I'm totally crazy.
Yeah. And like even 10 years ago, you couldn't talk about it because people would put you in the loony bin.
Yes, very much so. They could still throw you in the slammer for that. They're like, "What's that? You hear things? Okay, goodbye." Jon, from my understanding, you were always fascinated with the paranormal, but you kind of remained on the fence, skeptic-wise. Was there any single occurrence that made you question, like, "Whoa, maybe there really is more to what people are saying about these incidents"?
Yeah, there actually was, and I've shared this story a lot. I was always interested in ghosts as a kid, and just kids want to go to Disneyland, and I'm like, can I go to a haunted house? It's just the way I always was.
Same.
Right?
Me.
Yeah, right. So my grandpa passed away, and after his passing, a couple weeks after he passed, my grandmother wanted me and my brother to come stay the night, and yeah, I don't know. We were on the second floor and I came down and hit the landing and turned the corner. I watched my grandfather walk past the bottom of the stairs and I didn't know whether I dreamt it or whether I saw it. But all I know is I was running down those stairs to find him. And, I was bawling like a baby and he was gone.
Right.
So ever since, like, I've been on this quest. Is there something, can science explain it? That's kind of my take.
Right. So what do you feel then gets the best results on an investigation, a purely scientific and data approach based on metrics and like, things you can measure, a purely spiritual psychic approach, or kind of a mixture of the two?
I'm going to go on a limb and say both, because it's the thing about paranormal investigation is there is no foolproof method. We're still learning. It's a pseudoscience. It's based on the first law of thermodynamics, right? So, So, going by that, it's got to be a mix.
And it's kind of like why they have me do a walkthrough ahead of time, because I don't think like that workroom, or the museum, you didn't think that there was going to be any activity because there wasn't really a lot reported there. And I'm like, oh, this place is going to be crazy. So I kind of guided them where to investigate.
I've noticed that when both approaches are used at locations, a lot of times one kind of confirms the other. So that's kind of the thing where it's like we're people that are empaths or people that are psychics will pick up on certain things, and then it'll be confirmed by either EVPs later on or another like a voice capture or something to that nature, that one kind of stacks on top of the other, which is, hey, the more evidence, the better, right?
Totally.
What's the most compelling piece of evidence you feel like you've captured thus far?
There's been so much. We've been so lucky to get so much evidence.
Was it the Sandin thing, maybe? Because there was like so many of us throughout the whole house.
Sandin had some pretty compelling stuff, yeah. We can kind of we can't really say anything because it's part of an episode in terms of that.
Yeah.
But we can say we actually documented this really amazing thing, and it's the best way to describe it was a big loud boom without an epicenter.
And there was about 6 of us throughout this house, and it wasn't a very big house, but it was a series of events that led up to it. Okay. And it actually caused me to run out of the house, and it was the middle of the day. And
it was even dark.
We had to leave because it wasn't safe, actually. And that's when you were scratched, and there was just, yeah.
That sounds pretty crazy.
It was pretty disturbing.
Wow, that's so. What piece of evidence, would you then show somebody who's maybe on the fence about ghosts and the paranormal to kind of tip them one way or the other?
My job's not to tip people. My job's just to present things and let them make up their mind. I got to get that out in the open.
Mhm.
I would, geez, that's kind of a good question.
Yeah, you just, I guess, have to show them the evidence that you did collect. I mean, and eventually there's going to be so much evidence that you can't really deny it. And then, you know what? You can feel free to think what you want.
Right. It's like, here's what I have. Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd say when you get things like disembodied voices, you know, and you know there's only two people in there, those are pretty compelling.
Right, for sure.
You
EVP is usually pretty compelling as far as that goes. I mean, obviously video evidence the visuals would be top notch, but I think EVP probably runs a close second.
Absolutely.
Behind that. So what has been your most, the one you were just talking about sounded really intense, the one that we can't really like go into too much detail.
Yeah.
But outside of that one, what has been your most frightening or disturbing encounter that you had?
I got this one. It's actually Dean and my Scooby-Doo moment.
Oh, that was good.
It's nuts. Like you see an episode of Scooby-Doo and they run into each other, and that was us. We were about 30 feet in the air on a catwalk. It's actually an episode of True North Paranormal that was in theaters up here in Canada. And this place, the Powerhouse Theater, had reports of, somebody walking on the catwalk. So Dean and I were up there for a good, hour listening to something move around. We went into this one corner and I didn't like this corner. I told him, I'm like, man, I really don't like this corner, and we heard these footsteps about 15 feet away and they accelerated and ran.
Oh,
so you actually heard it speed up, and I went one way and Dean went one way, and yeah, we wanted off that thing pretty quick. I mean, we stuck it out, but it was pretty frightening.
But that's something runs at you. And there's no one attached to said footsteps. That's a little disturbing.
Exactly.
And the cameras picked it all up too, so the
cameras pick it up as well. That's nuts. Wow. Did you find out what was the background of that? Was there any background to that story? Had somebody died up there, or?
Well, it's okay. So the Powerhouse Theater in Vernon, British Columbia, actually was a powerhouse before it was a theater. What happened is the old generator blew up and took half the building with it. Now, there was no reports of fatalities, but in an explosion, who knows? Yeah. There's just been reports ever since it became a theater and was leased to the theater by the city of Vernon for $1 a year. That's when all the reports came out, and so the history is just, it's about as tragic as it gets. Explosion, haunted.
Explosion, haunted, theater, Phantom of the Opera, footsteps on the catwalk. Like,
yeah, right. Like,
the only thing it's missing is a crashing chandelier.
Oh my goodness! I'm so glad that didn't happen there.
Yeah. Like, please no. Are you guys ever concerned about spirits or entities or something like that following you home from a location? And what do you do to prevent that sort of thing?
I think after a while, everybody kind of has their own little ceremony that they do on themselves. And I've had a couple of issues where I've gotten really crabby, I'll say, right before or right after we come back. And so you just, I cleanse myself, clear myself, and I feel better. But it can most definitely happen if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. I like to let my faith be, and whatever your faith is, your faith is always your biggest defense against anything. So it's kind of like Karina said, we all have our own things. Right. I've never actually experienced anything following me home. I take proper steps before and after. It's that simple.
I think most people do, honestly. I think I would say 90% of the investigators that I've spoken to have something that they do, whether it's something as simple as saying like, hey, you can't follow me home after they leave somewhere, or if it's, something involving a more spiritual approach. Everybody seems to have their thing that they do. I think I've only talked to one that was like, yep, no, something can follow me home. I don't care.
That's when you get your best evidence, I guess. Right?
I was like, I'm worried about it, like setting up shop in your house. And he's like, no, because that'd be really convenient then. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that's fair. Like, fair point. Didn't look at it that way. Okay. Would you ever take an item or an object home from a location?
No, you got to be respectful at all times.
Absolutely.
It was not yours to begin with, and it's someone else's property. You know, it's totally, it's them.
Unless it's a souvenir that you can buy.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's something you're like, hey, I would like to purchase this thing.
Yeah, that's totally different. But yeah, no, I can't say I've ever brought anything home, nor would I ever think about doing that.
It's you leave everything as you found it.
Exactly.
You know, and plus it's like, well, it's like a place is not going to invite you back if you start taking their things. You know?
Exactly. And you work hard. I mean, in this field, you work really hard to build a reputation. You don't want to tarnish that.
That's right.
By taking a souvenir that's silly, you know, just silly.
Exactly.
You've done private locations based on requests for cleansing. Do you get asked to do that often?
Not really.
Well, I think 2 years ago it happened a lot more than it is now. Well, COVID doesn't help.
That's true. That's true.
I think, I think we pretty much, the trouble is, again, it comes down to people's faiths. You know, when you're called to cleanse, everybody has their own faith. And the biggest thing is you never want to disrespect somebody's faith by introducing your own. So, you know, we now will advise you on who you should speak with versus us doing something for you. You know, we'll go within your faith and say, this is what you need to do if you want to cleanse your home.
That just totally makes sense because, like you said, everybody's individual, right? Everyone has their things that they believe in that they don't, and it's just too many wires can get crossed, and it's like, here's what we found. Here's who to contact to get rid of what we found.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Here we are. The history of the locations, I find, plays an important role in investigations, no matter what location you go to. Do you prefer to research these events or these histories prior to going, or do you do that after so as not to like bias any potential collected evidence?
I guess this is kind of on me, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not allowed to know anything about any location we go to.
Right.
No, we definitely do our research. The thing is, especially once you get into the TV industry, you have to definitely do your research before you go. You know, you want to look for credibility, you know, and that's a big thing for us. So, I mean, we definitely research things. We research the history, we research the haunted history, you know, and we kind of go from there. So, yeah, no, I think the more you know, the more armed you are versus not knowing and walking in. Versus
walking in blind. Yeah.
Well,
like you said, you brought up a valid point. You know, if you walk into a place blind, you don't know if this is a reputable place or not. You know, if it's just like, hey, well, there's rumors that there's stuff here, or, you know, when you show up and it's like, okay, well, this was a big nothing, you know, like, or worse, it's somebody propagating something that's not legitimate. And that's like, don't want that. So don't want that at all. Do you feel that the entities that you have encountered are the spirits of those who have passed on, or that there's some other beings? Like, do you feel like you've encountered other beings like elementals or other things, demons, things like that?
I think there's a time where if you're stuck here for whatever reason it is, and you're feeding off of negative energy, you can eventually turn into something that's not even human anymore. And I think that's what we did encounter in Sandon, where I think at one time this thing was human, but it got so nasty over time that it became something not so nice.
Not so nice anymore. It was just kind of like, I guess, absorbing all that negativity for so long, just kind of.
Yeah, and it just snowballs and
Yeah, I think Ian and I take a scientific approach, and we let the evidence talk to us. I mean, I've never been in a location where I can say there is a definite 100% piece that has shown me the existence of a demon or anything like that. All the places I've investigated, yes, we found negative entities.
Right.
But I definitely believe they were somebody at some point.
Yeah, when we were in Caslo, though, they asked me, what do you feel in this room? And I definitely felt something, but I couldn't pinpoint whether it was male or female. It was just an energy. So I knew that I'm not even certain what it was, but I know that it was just an energy, and it wasn't very friendly. Yeah, and it had no, it wasn't a male or a female. I don't know what it was.
Do you feel like because it's been there so long, it's and absorbed so much negativity that maybe it's forgotten that it was like, is that something where it's like, it's forgotten that it was a person? That's why maybe you're like, don't pick up a gender. It's just like, all it knows that it is now is energy.
That's definitely a possibility. It got so used to just being that it forgot exactly where it was, what it came from, and so on.
Like wouldn't remember a name or anything. So if you're asking like, what's your name and things like that, it's probably wouldn't have a response anymore because it's probably been so long. It wouldn't even know its name anymore. If it had one at one point.
John actually caught that. You caught that on the SLS camera. I love the SLS.
Great. Isn't that great? Isn't the SLS great?
I love it.
Wait, which one? Oh, that.
Caslo.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Love when you catch the really big. You turn it and it's like this 10-foot tall figure. Like,
I know, exactly.
What is that? This is great tech. You just have to remember that you do cast IR shadow.
Yeah.
So it'll pick up door frames or your shadow through the IR.
Yeah, but after you rule that out, it can be pretty creepy.
Yeah, this thing was creepy.
It's like, I guess I love when it's just like tracks something that's like 10 feet tall and you're like, I don't know what that is. That's not the door. I don't know.
Yeah, and this thing she's talking about, it's like
it
went along the floor and then up. It was weird.
Floor. Oh wow. Yeah, when they move in those like not even like a human kind of way, when it's like looks like it's either like crawling or it like goes up into the ceiling and it's like, and then it disappears and it's like, okay.
I can say that part what had happened. I mean, we've talked about it openly, so I mean, even though it's in an episode, you got to see it.
Oh yeah.
This thing went along the floor and it stood up, and then it's like it put an arm on my shoulder because I was kneeling down when this happened, and I just Denise told me, John, there's something touching you. I'm like, really? So she didn't tell me what was touching me, or she didn't tell me it was huge and it looked like it had a tentacle arm. She's just like, something's touching.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird.
And it was like 10 feet tall.
It's like, and then it's or they'll be tiny, or you'll see like these like tiny little things, and you're like, and then it's like on your shoulder, like literally standing on someone's like arm or their hand or something, and then it's like gone. And it's like, what was that?
Yeah, SLS is great.
Yeah,
that's a fun toy, isn't it?
Because it's visual.
Yeah.
And that's like that's a fun way I tell people like to look, because that's another visual evidence, right? It's like you can so once you've discounted the things that it would be, it's like, okay, well that's a mannequin, or okay, that's a chair that it's mapping. Once you are able to rule that out, it's like you show that to somebody and you're like, it's like there was no one here, there was nothing here, and it's mapping something. And then once they've seen that, a lot of times I've noticed that people go like, that is weird. Like maybe there is something there. I'm like,
It's kind of cool too. Like talking about the SLS, we were one of two places that went to Hell's Gate, and we just got our sponsor, Paranormal Electronics, out of the UK, and they sent us this version 2 SLS, and we're one of two that actually caught this SLS hit of the smoking man, they call him. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Was he giant, or was he normal size?
He was normal sized.
He was normal size.
Smoking. You saw him smoking.
But like the motion and everything.
Yeah, you saw. So I mean, it was kind of cool.
There's actually a show that I do some work for, and they were just at a prison, and the prison that they were at has the death chamber in it, and they picked up, I think it was episode 2. They picked up a figure laying on the gurney in the death chamber on the SLS. Jeez. Yeah. It was like, okay. Yes, Paranormal Electronics UK, give them a shout out. Shout for all the cool equipment and cool toys.
So it's the haunted side.
Yeah.
That must be Patrick.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's Patrick,
how you doing, bud?
Yeah, it was wild because it was not just because there was no one, obviously there was nobody in the prison. There was no one inside of that chamber at any point in time unless it is being used. So to see a figure laying down, it was like,
that's something else. Yeah.
Okay. So that's like, I mean, that's just another proof that it's like the SLS is such a cool piece of equipment and such a cool.
Totally.
So is that your favorite piece of equipment to use? Do you have another one that you're like, is your go-to that you just do not go on an investigation without?
My Melmeter actually is my go-to. I love all the other tech. I love my SB11, but my Melmeter, it's always there. I mean, it's going to give me a proper readout of the environment every time. So it's always in my pocket or my hand.
Yeah, John likes the spirit box, but I actually find it rather annoying that all that noise, it just bothers me.
It's true. I don't think a lot of people are able to keep on the spirit box for longer than like 5 minutes because of the noise, unless you put like a cancellation or a noise gate on it.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, it's like that white noise of like, all right, turn it off. Yeah. I've had enough static. I'm good.
Fingernails on a blackboard.
That's a cool one. I like the Ovulus as well. The Ovulus is one of my favorite ones. That's a fun one. Except when it's quiet for about 20 minutes and then says something and scares the crap out of you. Then it's
that's always great.
My favorite thing anymore after that. So what challenges has the pandemic presented to you as an investigation team as far as like getting to locations or being able to film or being stuck? How has that presented a challenge to you?
Well, I know for a while it actually shut the entire show down. Thunder Boys Productions made the decision to shut both True North Paranormal down and their show, Federal's Trigger Effect, just completely stopped. So, I mean, filming went to a halt. We weren't able to go, help people if they were calling us to say, hey, we need some help over here. You're pretty much stuck, and it kind of sucks. It definitely hinders you because, I mean, even though we're there for entertainment, our job is actually,
that's
being
right.
a last line of defense for people. So
very true.
Yeah, it's definitely hindered a lot of things in regards to that. And then you investigate, and it's definitely switched how you approach buildings now. And
it has kind of helped in the sense that because things have to stay closed, they can let 4 people in to film.
That's true.
Yeah.
Some places are then extra eager to get people in because they've been closed for so long, or they're like hotels or things like that that have been shut for months and they couldn't have anybody, and it's like, okay, yes, please come in here.
Yeah.
And,
give us some PR.
Yeah.
please don't let people forget that we're here. So when you walk through, Karina, do you usually go first through the locations? Do you do like a cold walkthrough of the locations to get like a feel of hotspots?
That's right. Yeah, I usually do that during the day. And then sometimes during John's investigation, they'll call me in to ask me if I'm feeling anything right now. And that's usually when it's dark and it's not so fun.
And again, I don't like going in there when it's dark as much.
I've been brave. I've been doing really good. Well, yeah.
Is that like just a gut feeling you get from a certain spot in the house? Like, can you describe that?
Yeah, for instance, that museum, as soon as I walked in, the hairs on my arms were standing right up, and I knew there was something there. And when I noticed that there wasn't any other camera set up in there, I was like, how come you guys don't have anything set up in here? So I'm like, you're going to go in there tonight. So, and that's, there was some pretty crazy stuff that happened in there.
Well, it sounds like you've been scratched at least once. Have you guys been like pushed or thrown at you? And
scratched, pushed, had my shirt pulled up and out on camera.
Wow.
Yeah, things drained. I mean, we've seen a lot. I'm not going to ever say we've seen it all. It's I don't think there's actually a scene at all.
Yeah, but, I don't know if there is such a thing.
I mean, we've been a part of a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, and I luckily, knock on wood, have not been scratched or anything.
Yeah, like that. Me either. I've been pushed, and I've had things thrown at me, but I have not been scratched yet. But hey.
It isn't even the lifting. It's actually with a light touch. It drives me nuts.
We had rocks thrown at us. I lied. I had rocks thrown at us.
Yep. Rocks are a favorite one. They like to throw like the rocks and like pebbles and things, and like, what was that? And like you look and it's like, nope, that wasn't the ceiling. nope, there's no okay.
Stones,
Yeah.
like,
Definitely gets just trying to get your attention for sure. I think in that
Oh, yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm here. Hey, pay attention to me. That's the only way it's figured out how to communicate with you. Have you guys ever brought outsider, like people from outside on your investigation, like a fan or a skeptic or something like that? Is that something you would consider doing?
We haven't to date. Anything like that goes through our production company. Karina and I, we're the hosts of the show,
Right.
but it's all up to Thunder Boys. I mean, we've done a lot of public events where people get to meet us, but we've never yet taken anybody on an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there has been times where, like the residential school, where people that were part of the location kind of joined us.
Oh yeah.
So I guess you could include that.
Include that, like the people that lived in the house or that worked at the location kind of tagged along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of include that.
Yeah.
Had that happen for security. They were like, well, for security and safety purposes, somebody has to be with you. I'm like, all right, well, as long as they don't run out when weird things start happening.
Yeah, well, exactly, right.
That's my one requirement. They can't bolt on me.
No.
You're stuck here.
You want to be here, you're stuck here until we're done. So buckle up. What is your dream investigation location if money and time and restrictions were no object?
Tower of London.
Oh, really?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Man, I want to get into that tower so bad.
The Amityville Horror House.
Amityville House. That's a
I've
good
been
one too.
obsessed with that movie since I was little.
It's a good movie. And that house, I'm sure, is creepy. It looks creepy still from the outside. So yeah, that would be definitely one to get in. I had one guest say the White House. And I was like,
rad too, I guess. Yeah.
That's a good one. He's like, you could never, ever get in it. He goes, but
No.
boy, that would be a cool one to investigate. Because he's like,
that would be pretty cool.
Wow.
Oh, the Canadian card. Hey there, we're Canadian, eh?
I just pretend to be. I was like, can you just pretend to be tourists and like sneak in, like you're like in the spirit box and be like, oh, it's a camera. We're just sightseeing and wandered off from the tour.
Oh,
And he's like, no, I don't think they buy that. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
yeah.
I get that. So where, if you guys are allowed to talk about it, where are you going to be investigating next?
Oh goodness, we're on a bit of a hiatus for a couple months here. I think we're getting ready to start back on the road again. Nanette Sanatorium, I think, is the first one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one that was kind of canceled because of COVID, and now we're rebooking.
Yeah, Nanette Sanatorium's on there. Actually, that entire town has a bunch of haunted locations. And then, oh God, I literally don't have my list in front of me. So I mean,
but it's like a whole.
Yeah, we got I think 6 or 7 places that we got to head to on the next leg. So,
do you like try to like group them together so that you kind of like try to hit them like in succession, kind of?
We do totally. We try doing a loop. We'll hit some on the bottom and then some on the way back, and we can't say where we're going because of Karina. So
it used to bother me that I can't know anything, but I'm okay with it now.
Right. It's like you're like, I feel like I'm getting left out of the loop.
I used to love looking at the history and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of had to just stop doing everything.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously there's a reason. There's a madness behind that. But yeah, I can imagine. It's like, man, I wish I knew where we were going.
Confirmation is so awesome that it makes it worthwhile.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when you walk into some place like, and you're like, I don't know anything about this place, and you walk in and immediately get like a crazy sensation or something happens. You're like, whoa, what is this?
It's kind of borderline creepy when you do that too.
Yeah. Like it's like you walk in and it's like stop, and it's like you hit a wall and you're like, wait, whoa. So that's pretty crazy. So I look for. So I mean, it is only the show's only available in Canada right now. Is it available through so it's just available on television up there? Is it available through a streaming service at all that people in the States could access?
I know we're working on getting it on Prime. Amazon Prime. Thunder Boys is looking at that because I mean, we've had so many people from the States wanting to watch the show and they really can't because they don't have, Shaw down there. So
Right.
yeah, no, Denise is working pretty hard on getting it up on Amazon Prime right now, so that way people down south can see the show.
Watch it, yeah, for sure. Definitely look forward to it because that's like I was watching your guys' channel, like, and you could obviously let me put the link up there. Let me put the banner link, but there it is, right down at the
Dear
bottom.
Lord, just don't judge us by the early ones.
Oh yeah, we were so new in front of the camera.
They're like, just don't watch those ones.
See the red light.
There's a lot of videos on their page, guys, and there's a lot of really cool, like very informative. The videos, the cold facts videos, those are great, and I love that you guys do those because they're very informative and they answer some very specific questions that get asked a lot in the paranormal community, and it's a nice, like, quick, like, little, like, bite-sized answer, just gets right into it and like covers like, what's this, like, what's a cold spot, how does this work, and it's very informative. So definitely check those videos out. Not only that, but check all their videos out, obviously all the videos you can out until they end up on Amazon Prime. Until they're on Prime and we can watch their TV show.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and watch the Hell's Gate promo. We'll go ahead and pull that up and we can kind of like, you guys can kind of unpack that with me. Sure. We'll go ahead and do that.
Oh, there it is.
That is a creepy looking hole. I'm going to tell you that right now.
That is, that hole, actually, you can't get into it.
Is it small? It looks very small.
It's not that it's small. It's about 40 feet down from the main platform that you can walk around on. So that's literally at the base of Hell's Gate, which is a really narrow passage of water.
Yeah, it's the Fraser River that runs through there, and it goes into the Pacific Ocean, right? It goes right in there. So
I just saw that and I was like, there is definitely probably pirate treasure in that hole, and I am not brave enough to get it out. That's 100% what is happening.
Oh yeah, there it is.
This place made me feel uneasy as soon as I got in here.
It's the museum.
I forgot Dean put that in there.
Oh, yeah.
So watching that, I'm kind of mad that I don't have the channel to watch the episode. I was
that one's not out yet. I totally spaced that Dean put that in there though. So that was one of the freaky things that I can talk about is that. So that entire segment where I stand up and I'm like, oh, what the hell? There was someone walking around us for about 20 minutes. You heard footsteps walking around, and then I was asking for responses, and we'd get intelligent responses like knocks, and then it hoofed the back of this bench we were sitting on real hard.
Oh wow.
And the bench is bolted to the ground onto cement, and it kind of
pushed it a little bit. Like, that's crazy. So it's like, you're like, wait, what was that? So you're like, what was that just moved? Yeah, like
nuts.
A lot of times that, like, I've noticed that there's sometimes like they'll just kind of where you'll feel like you're surrounded, or like you'll definitely feel like there's something there the whole night, but then it kind of just orbits you a little bit, and it's like almost like it's checking you out. Like it's not really sure why you're there, maybe, and then it all of a sudden will be like, boo! Like,
the worst too is when you go to one spot and it's hot, and then you have to go back. Like we're on location for a minimum of 3 days to film True North every episode. So I mean, once they get used to you, it's even worse because they're like, oh, this worked the other night, so let's do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you guys do a lot of repeat locations? Do you find yourselves going back to locations you've gone prior to see if there's any new, like, more activity or
We haven't yet, really.
We try not to.
Mhm.
You know, the thing about us, and this is the part of being an investigator that I love, is we'll show what we found, but we want all those other teams to go after us and try different tactics, seeing what we did that worked and evolve it. I mean,
Right.
we love seeing that. So we'll go one time and we'll hit it for 3 days minimum, and let the next team go after they watch the episode and let them do it.
For sure. So I have some survey questions that I like to ask people blindly. So
Okay.
we're going to do the survey questions, and then I'll open it up to Q&A. I've seen a couple questions that have popped into the chat that I will put up on the screen, and anybody can chime in with their questions as soon as the survey is done. So without further ado, they're written down, so I have to go to my book and find them. Whose spirit would you want to encounter if you could choose?
Vlad Tepes Dracula.
Who?
Count Dracula.
Oh,
Dracula, the Count Dracula.
I'd love it.
That'd be awesome.
Well, I want to ask him. I mean, is it true? Were you doing all the stuff that your priest
Did
said?
you put the sticks and the like?
that's a good question.
I wish I had my Jeopardy music.
Oh my God.
There's no time limit. We're good.
I don't know, ancestors. I'd like to go back into my family history and just ask questions from like 300 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Like of like one of your ancestors. Yeah. Like I have one that I'm like, I have so many questions if I could ask this one particular like great, it's just like 17th great grandmother or something like that. I'm like, I have so many questions for you.
Yeah.
What's your best piece of advice for investigators that are just getting started?
Watch everything you can. Watch every investigator, learn from them.
I would say also trust your instinct, your intuition, because your first gut reaction is more, I think it's your right one, the right one.
Usually the correct one. It usually is 100% the correct one.
Yeah.
What are questions you guys like being asked about what you do?
Oh, that's a good one. What keeps you awake all night? That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question.
Right?
Yeah. I like the question about what was your creepiest moment?
That's a favorite. I love to ask that of everybody.
Jon, actually, on that Hell's Gate trip, him and Dean both came back after an incident, and they had to nap for 2 hours before they could even go to the next area.
We were drained.
It was so crazy.
Paranormal hangover is a real thing.
It's totally real.
It's 100% a real thing. What are questions that you hate being asked, or things that people say that you are like,
Anything to do with politics or religion.
Oh, yeah.
That's usually subjects best avoided.
That's right.
just
I'd have to agree on that, I guess.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, it's personal to everybody. And it's like, I've never changed anybody's mind, and I don't think that that's possible. So
no.
Not my gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do TV shows, movies, and mass media generally get wrong about paranormal investigations?
How something can be so exciting, because a lot of paranormal investigating is sitting there in front of a TV screen going through footage, like hours and hours and hours of it. It's not all jam-packed excitement all the time.
No, it's not. Sometimes you'll sit for hours in a location and nothing. It'll be like at the beginning something will happen, and then it's like 3 hours with nothing. And then something else will happen, and then it's like, it's just not like, I think they think it's like boom, 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 like it's back to back to back. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what it looks like when you
put it all together.
Down to like, 6 hours down to like an hour. Yeah, it's popping off, but it's not always that way. Ouija boards, yes or no?
Yes.
They were a toy to start out with.
Why not? They're a tool. I think they're a tool.
What is the first thing you do after completing an investigation?
Nap.
Nap.
That's when we were like, I go eat, because it's usually like breakfast time. It's usually like 7 in the morning for them. It's like, I'll go eat. Nap.
Yeah, coffee. Coffee's good, yeah.
Coffee is never a bad decision. I would like to say that. What is your biggest fear?
Being left alone in the dark.
Oh no.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever
I wouldn't
ditch
do
me.
that. I'm always the one in the dark. I wouldn't say it's so much as a fear so much as it is I just don't like the sound of little kid entities. They just creep me out.
Yeah, little kids are disturbing.
I can see that. I can see it for sure. Would you want to be a ghost?
Yes.
Yeah, if I went to where I'm supposed to go and then I came back to visit, sure.
It's a temporary trip. It's just like I'm not stuck here, but I can like leave when I want, but I can just like pop in to haunt people at random and just like
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So what's the first thing you guys pack when you head out on an investigation? What is the first thing you pack?
Gummy worms.
I like
worms.
your answer, sir. That is my go-to snack.
Yeah.
My snack is jelly beans.
Good snack too. Agreed.
Yeah.
We can agree on that. That's awesome. It's like the sugar kind of keep you, because you hit the wall at some points during the night, and it's like you need that sugar to help you keep going.
Yeah.
For sure. Let me see if there were some questions that popped in that I missed. I'm going to try and go back and catch them here really quick. Got one here. Have you ever gotten a moment where you had to leave because it was or felt unsafe?
Would you say the Sand and White House?
No, even then, I don't think I've ever personally been involved in something like that. Again, my job's to investigate. So even when nasty stuff is going on, my job is to be able to stand there.
For sure.
So I've never felt unsafe.
Well, there was the house in Sandon, BC, where that big incident happened, and there was like 6 of us in the house, and it was the middle of the day, and we did call it a day after that.
We call it a day, but we didn't leave.
No, they went back the next night to see what it felt like, but
never really been like run off and like
no.
No.
So there's the same person is posting, but there's a group. Somebody else had another question. Do you believe in superstitious legends like Bloody Mary, the Boogeyman, that sort of thing?
That's a great question. I love that question, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
I think there's a little bit of truth to all of those stories, and just over time they've been, things have been added on to it to make it better. And but I think with all of them, there's a little bit of truth to all of them.
There's a little nugget of truth in there usually to those urban legends, right? It started somewhere.
Totally. There was a green light somewhere along the way. I love that
point. Have you ever been to a haunted location and none of your equipment worked, even though it was fully charged or otherwise?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Seen it happen a few times.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
That's when you know it's going to be a good night. You start seeing your battery. Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, there's something here. This is going to be a loud night.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew Paranormal wants to know, have you ever investigated in the States, and if so, where?
True North has not made it down to the States. The thing is, the States have so many great shows going on down there. We stayed in Canada because of that. I mean, whether it's on TV or YouTube, I mean, there's just so many amazing shows down there. Canada's kind of untapped territory.
I do have a list of places I want to go to, though.
Me too.
Winchester House is on everybody's list, isn't it?
I totally envy people in the States. I get to investigate.
You guys have awesome locations.
There's a lot of creepy stuff down here.
Yeah,
in a good way. For the last question from the group of people watching from Facebook, what inspires you the most about ghost hunting and why?
My inspiration is trying to be a part of answering that question. Is there something after we die? I want to be a part of that. I want to give you that answer. I want to help.
Me too. Like, I've been kind of different all my life. I've been like, that weirdo person, and now it's kind of like I'm embracing it.
Same. 100% same.
Yeah, now's the time that we can embrace it, because I think we kind of people, us weirdos, we're the ones that could change things forever.
That's true. I agree. I 100% agree with that. I don't think there's any more questions. Those were some really good questions, you guys. If your question did not get answered, go ahead and post it in the comments. I'll make sure that Jon and Karina get the question and get you an answer. We'll pull any questions we miss and we'll send them off to these guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Definitely go subscribe to their YouTube channel in the meantime. Because we're keeping our fingers crossed that the Prime thing happens, because we all want to see the craziness from our neighbors to the north up there. We want to see, because we don't know, like we are pretty familiar with our locations. We want to see what's going on up there with you guys. And that some of these trailers I'm watching is like, you guys have some crazy stuff happen. So we want in on this. We want in on this 100%. So subscribe. Yeah. The link is in the video. The link is also on the description down below. So please, please, please join, subscribe, hit that bell so they can get you get the reminders when they go on, when new videos get posted, and keep your eyes open on Prime for that show, guys. Thank you guys so much for being on tonight. And thank you so much for joining me for an hour of very fun questions. I would love to have you guys on again at some point on a future episode.
Awesome.
So, and if I ever make my way up to Canada, which I will one of these days when, we're back to normal and we're not in a pandemic and, the borders open again, would love to make my way up there and check some stuff out. So
yeah, awesome.
For sure. Look us up. We're here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Have
a good night, you guys.
You too. Thank
you guys so much for joining me this evening for the episode of the Dead Hours. I will not be on next week because I'll be actually out on an investigation. So next Wednesday, we're taking a little bit of a break. But the Wednesday after that, we will have Levy back from Lego Papa TV. He will be back for a return episode. We will catch up with him, see what he's been doing. He was just at Rolling Hills. I cannot wait to talk to him about that. And later on in the month, we've got some awesome guests. I think you know who they are. So it'll be the last Wednesday of the month. But go head on over to their video now. It's about to go live. Haunted Side, Nevada State Prison, Part 3. Jump on over, watch, like, subscribe. Guys, have a good night. Stay spooky.